Hello everybody! Happy 79th Independence Day. So I wanted to ask a question. Have you all ever felt like going into the land of stories where you can meet all the princesses, Snow White, Goldilocks, Cinderella, and more princesses? Have you ever dreamed? Well, this pair of twins, Alex and Connor, have been on a very wonderful, adventurous journey in the land of stories. The Land of Stories is a book. It's, all the fairy tales, right? About what happened to Snow White and how she grew up, what happened to Cinderella, how she grew up, Goldilocks, Rapunzel. All stories. They're a combination of all stories with a modern twist. There's a twist. It's not like all the stories combined. They have a twist too. And Alex and Connor also got to meet all of them. They got to meet Rapunzel, Snow White, Cinderella, Goldilocks, Red Riding Hood, everybody. So then what happened is, how did they even get to go there? There's no portal. So they loved listening to stories is the main thing. They really loved listening to stories. So on their 12th birthday, their grandma gave them a book, The Land of Stories. Alex, of course, loved books, so she took it, she grabbed it. So she heard a humming sound, which you don't usually get from books, you just read the book. But she heard a weird humming sound, so she really loved to explore more. She was a more active twin, and she was elder by 1 minute from her brother Connor. So by only 1 minute she was elder, but she was a more joyful and she was more energetic than Connor. So she decided to explore what happened. Why is the humming sounds coming? Then when she explored, she just discovered that she opened a page of the book and saw the humming sound, but she didn't know what was the humming sound. So she kept a pencil in the middle, and then the pencil sank. She got shocked. She just thought she was dreaming because lately that week she had a lot going on. She was wondering, how does a humming sound come out of a book? So she kept on doing that. Then one day, her brother somehow knew that she was gonna go inside the book somehow, but we don't know how. Say maybe because they were twins. He knew. And then he immediately, first she kept a finger, then she kept a hand, then she just felt a tingling sensation. Then Connor barged and said, Alex, stop. But before that, she already jumped. So Connor also jumped. So they both had a very wonderful experience. Let's know more about their experience. So that was the intro, that exactly what happened to them, how they got into the Land of Stories, and how they got that Land of Stories book. And you'll also find something special about the grandmother. And there's one thing that they wanted to really come back home, but they wanted to really come back home. They went into the world, they might have saw good things, but they really wanted their home. So there was one way to come back, but that was a very dangerous way. They went and had a wonderful experience by collecting items of the wishing spell, this is the first part, the Land of Stories wishing spell. They had to collect 8 items, but these items were not easy. They were not like grass, plants, leaves. They were hard stuff, like Cinderella's slipper. You know that is her most prized possession, right? You know what happened to her slipper? It fell down and all. So that was prized possession. Lock of Goldilocks, Rapunzel's hair. That was easy to find because they were in the tower, so they found it. As you know in the story, Rapunzel's hair got cut. And then Red Riding Hood's basket, which was also kept in a room. They couldn't enter that easily. They were unknown people. So that is how it was a very hard journey, but fun a little bit also. So then let's see the author. The author who wrote this book is Chris Caldifer. You must have seen him in TV. He's an actor in Glee. And also he writes wonderful kids story tales. He has created his own world by writing many story tales. But you think the Land of Stories is only one? No, there are many books of the Land of Stories. After this, there's the Enchantress Returns and many more. So this is the first book. After that, there are many more, because there are some parts in this book that have not been done yet, that we don't know the answer to still. So he is a very good writer. He writes children's book, and I told you he created a world by writing his own books. into a book. Into a book. Can you still believe it? I understand if it's something else, but a book? How can anybody go inside a book? And they also get to meet all the different types of fairies. I mean, princesses, fairies, and all the type of things that we dreamed of meeting. They met Cinderella, and these had a plot twist. They met Cinderella, Snow White, Red Riding Hood. They were all not as they were when they were small. As you know, Cinderella was mopping the floor. She was a queen, and she was getting a baby now too. Snow White also had a grand palace of her own. Red Riding Hood was self-obsessed. She always loved herself, and she always used to speak about herself, used to tell everything, I love me, I love me. She never used to think about others, like self-obsessed, very self-obsessed. Now let's talk about the key characters. So the key characters are Alex, Connor, Froggy. I know that sounds like a funny name, but you'll get to know more about him. The evil queen, Mira is her real name. You'll get to know about her past. And Cinderella, Snow White, Red Riding Hood. There are so many main characters. Let's see. So the key character. First, let's start with Alex. She was energetic, curious, and always ready to learn new things. But there was one problem. She loved reading books also and listening to stories. But there was one problem. She was smart and she loved reading books, while the other kids, she had no friends because everybody thought she was too smart. So she felt a bit sad, but every time a book could cheer her up or a story sold by somebody, especially her grandmother and father. And then her brother Connor was a bit lazy, but on the other hand, he had friends and he had a sense of humor and was very brave. As you know in the story, he's brave at many moments when it's needed and it's required. And then we have the evil Froggy. Froggy is a person, a king, a prince actually, who once went out and he got cursed by somebody and he became a frog. He was very kind though. They both were, since she dropped her bag of pencils and socks, books. Froggy loved collecting books. He found his books and took it home. So they were collecting and behind Froggy came, "Hi, do you need any help?" They got scared because you know in this world we don't have any frog people. Seeing a frog person was new to them. That was the first person they met. They felt scared. They thought that it was somebody who was strange and he wanted to do something. But they found out. And he said that, "Are you by chance Alex?" They got scared. Did he know where they came from? Were they trying to hunt him for them? Then he said, "I found some books of Alex Bailey and Connor Bailey. I just wanted to give them to them." Then he said, "Yeah, sure, yeah, that's us." And they took the books. Then he said, "You're after the wishing spell." They got shocked. How could they know? How could he know everything about them? Their names, what they were after? They were not after the wishing spell. They just told their story actually. And then he said, "You're after the wishing spell, I guess." Then they said, "What's the wishing spell?" He told them that he gave them a journal. He said in that journal there were riddles written and a person wrote that journal about what his things were and how to do everything, which was very helpful for them. It made things a less harder for them. It had riddles. He didn't write the answers directly in the book like lock of Rapunzel's hair. There were riddles. They had to find those. And then they had to get the things. It was a hard quest, but they had some fun meeting all the princesses, fairies, and everything in that quest. So, then we have the evil queen. You might think she's evil, but she's not that evil. First, you need to understand her past to know whether she's evil. That's why she became evil. Her name was Mira. She was a very nice person, but because of something that happened in her past, something very bad and tragic, she got angry and she decided to become an evil queen, and that's why she is known as the evil queen. Something sad also happens to her in the story. Then we have Cinderella, who grows up and she's giving birth to a baby. She doesn't know what to name the baby. And there's also one thing that Alex and Connor, they both were first not invited to the party of Cinderella because they needed her glass slipper for the wishing spell. But the second time she was having a party because her baby was born, and then suddenly they got shocked. They got their own invitations for the party. They were so shocked. Did Cinderella know them? They were very, very, very shocked. Then we have Red Riding Hood, who I already told you she's very self-obsessed with herself. She only talks to herself. She all around her palace, Alex and Connor saw photos of her. There's not a single photo that's dedicated to somebody else. And she used to keep wolf frogs. As you know what happened, the grandmother, and he hid her in the closet, and she hated wolves from ever since then. So whoever wolves trespasser of wolf, she made them into rugs. Scary, which is very, very scary. Next, let's move on to themes and messages. This tells us teamwork. We need to stay together and never split up. In this story, Alex and Connor Bailey are both together every time. They never separated from each other. They always worked together and solved the clues together. This also tells us hard work helps a lot. They both solved the clues together. They didn't do it alone. And also there was one time, Billy Goats and Gruff, that story is there, right? So they were going across the bridge and then a troll came. How dare you come across my bridge? He said that if you want to cross this bridge, you need to answer my riddle or else I'll eat your head. They got scared. Then Connor said, why is everybody fond of eating people over here? He said, and Alex laughed. The question was, what is small as a pea and big as the sky, but the person who buys it is not theirs? Of course, we all know the answer. It was a gift, and Alex thought for a while and answered it. She got very excited when he told her riddles because she loved riddles a lot. She used to love doing stuff that were related to study, and which helped you think. Then, some of the favorite moments. This is where we're gonna learn what Alex's grandmother and Connor's grandmother were. You know the godmother of Cinderella, right? They took the glass slipper. So, they didn't actually steal. They were about to, but somebody slipped it in their bag. They thought they were gonna get caught, but they didn't. So what happened is, the glass slipper broke into hundreds of pieces. So then they told Cinderella all about the wishing spell and everything. She said, no problem, I've broken the glass slipper many times myself. The fairy godmother fixed it. Then Sir Lambton came. Sir Lambton is one of their dad's childhood friends. Well, they don't know, but he is one of his dad's childhood friends. He was one of the trusted helpers of Cinderella, most trusted helpers of Cinderella. So he said that the fairy godmother is calling. They thought maybe to just fix the shoe. But then the shoe was not with them, so they got scared. What if the fairy godmother wants to scold us? Then she left them at the clock tower. When she turned, it was their grandmother. They were so happy to see her. They said, Grandma, you're the fairy godmother? She said, I didn't mean for you to know this way. I just didn't want to tell you. Then she saw her. They were holding, whose journal? They were holding their dad's journal. She said, what are you doing with your dad's journal? Oh, at least he used it to write something. I bought that from very far away. At least he used it to write something. And one more favorite moment was when they got to see that baby of Cinderella. And another was when they were invited to Cinderella's party. They thought, how does Cinderella on the earth even know us? We just went to her party once without an invitation, they thought. And then, you know what? They found out they were related to Cinderella. Because as her fairy godmother is related, they were related to Cinderella. Can you believe it? The Land of Stories is so good. So I hope we all get to go also in a world like Land of Stories. So, this is the book, The Land of Stories. It's about Alex and Connor. As we already know, they went through a very fun adventure. The writer is Chris Colfer, and there are many more books after that. So hope you like this video. Thank you. Bye.